All right, gonna take a look at the three types of humans, basically, or mentalities we have within the human race. Generally, we classify these into three types. This is based on Gnosis also and occult wisdom, and it's clearly observable if we look out into the population of men and women that everyone's not the same in the sense that there are different mentalities. While we're down here in this duality or multiplicity, we can't say. At any given time, there exist different states of mind. A lot of people who become so-called conscious, even just socio-politically conscious, start to realize this too. This thing we call, this concept we call the masses of people. And there was a book written by a German guy during World War II about this too. Scientist, he observed this. He called, forgot what it's called, something about the little man, where he noticed that the real problem was the little man, not the people in power, because little man always turns his mind on himself, and that's what the so-called elite always get the little man to do. But what is the little man? The masses, we call them, and that's what this is about. These three different types of people, mentalities that we see. Now, this is going to be taken from this is a book, Primordial Gnosis. I'll put a link in the description here. But we can observe that human beings are different in mentality while manifest. This is clear. So we can divide them into terrestrials, which they called hyletics, if ruled by the body, psychic, if ruled by the soul, and spiritual or pneumatic, if ruled by the spirit. Now, the terrestrial hyletics, these are the people who are of the earth. This basically is what we would call the masses. The people who really, you know, if you really get them in a corner about something, deep or so, maybe you hit them with a conspiracy theory, they'll just say something, ah, it doesn't matter, you're gonna die anyway. Who cares? How's that gonna help my survival? It has nothing to do. It's not gonna get me laid. It's not gonna put food in my mouth. These are the people that are only concerned with their physical survival, and ultimately, well, I'm gonna die anyway, so nothing matters. You know, the dialectics. Now, each of these three mentalities can actually potentially exist in each person. At least the first two, I would say, psychic and terrestrial. So at any given time, But like I said, the hyletics, the material, this is what's called the man animals, and these are the people who only focus on survival, material world. And that's what's real to them, and whatever society gives them. So they'll take the religion if society tells them to, but had not society given them to them, they'll just be, like they say, the people don't have a mind that's given to them. So these are the people who just go along with the societal mind and basically what we call the masses. So the psychics, again, these are like people who are ruled by, they call the soul, the rational nature, the intellect. These will be like the thinkers, scientists, philosophers, and a lot of the people who consider themselves conscious would be somewhere between, I would say, terrestrials and psychics, because we like to think for ourselves, and we don't necessarily let the animal nature do our thinking, because that's the problem with most people is they let the you know the base nature do the thinking for them a lot of times, which that's what makes them unconscious. So psychics, of course, like philosophers, scientists, you try to go above that and use the mind, and of course that's the danger to society, which is thought, because thought knows no bounds. This is why it's no coincidence that society is mostly composed of the terrestrials. You got to think, if there really was free thought, would there even be a society as we know it? Because thought challenges everything. I mean, throughout history, thinkers, philosophers, they've been put to death just for introducing ideas. That's how serious thought is. So that's to let you know right there that Existence or societal existence is not necessarily about thought. It's just about survival, mostly, and finding a way. Culture and all this. It's just a way for people to be ushered through birth and death in an orderly fashion. That's really what it's about. It's not about thought. But people who like to think and become conscious, that's the challenge when you become conscious. And we could divide this into a percentage, a rough percentage, which a guy named Clarence 13X came up with back in the 60s. He was part of the 5% nation. He said it was basically 85, 10, and 5. So 85% of people are terrestrials, about 10% are psychics, and 5% would be spirituals. And now I probably would say now it's probably like 7 and 3. you know, 90% terrestrials, 7% psychic, and you know, uh, 3% spirituals. Probably less than that. I mean, because we're really in a degenerate age. They call it Kali Yuga. I mean, it's obvious, but that's a rough breakdown of how this proportion works, and it's clear. That's why stuff like so-called 9/11, all these truths that people are trying to get out, none of them are getting through because ultimately, like I said, the terrestrial mentality doesn't really care. That's not going to put food in their mouth. As a matter of fact, that's going to disrupt the food supply when you start hitting people with all this truth. That's a terrestrial mentality. Who cares about that? That's not going to help my survival. So only psychics and thinkers and people who try to think about higher things, you start to care about that. It's more of a personal thing. And for the spirituals, they're not concerned with any of it. These are the people who the spirituals are the people who have been perfected. These will be like the Buddha beings, the Christ beings. They're totally perfected and not of this world, because they realize the folly in this world. Period. Because you can't save it. It's always going to be drama. It's built on drama. It's built on conflict, opposition, duality. That's the whole point. So they realize this, and they go for something higher, the non-dual principle. So there's also an Indian rendition of this. They call it the Pasu, the Vira, and the Divya. The Pasu means animal and refers to the man animal in which the body and its instincts dominate. Vira is the warrior who is striving to wake up. The people we always talking about waking up, waking up. Now, I know in a Western world with this conscious stuff and a lot of conscious people, we think we're waking up, but just breaking down socio-political deception is not the ultimate waking up. That's breaking brainwashing, basically. So we're able to break these cultural, socio-political lies that are given to the society for whatever reason. Half of it is malevolent. Some of it is actually benevolent, believe it or not. They actually see it as being for the good of the people because, come on, people could be wild. We got to admit this. But so we see ourselves, oh, we're waking up. It's wake up. It's wake up time. Wakey, wakey. Like again, like with flat Earth. Flat Earth. It's a sort of wake up, but like I said, that's really you're breaking out of a negative state because you were brainwashed. But it's not the ultimate waking up. The ultimate waking up is what the spirituals do. It has nothing to do with you know, breaking down a lie necessarily. You're breaking down a lie, but you're breaking down a lie of this world. The realm itself, this material duality itself, is what the spirituals wake up to, and they break down that lie. That's the big one, which most of us probably won't reach, honestly. You know. But the Vera is the warrior who is striving to wake up. He is somewhat confused, but fights to free himself from this material world and fulfill his spirit. So again, that's a spiritual warrior who wants to break free of matter, or just allows the reality to overtake non-reality, allows non-dual to swallow up the the duality. And finally, the Divya, the third type of man whose spirit has already been liberated and rules absolutely. Perfect man is found in this group. Like I said, those are the Buddha beings, the Christ beings, these perfected ones, these spirituals who relay these esoteric wisdom and messages that get perverted and distorted and reduced and muddied down into mass religion. So again, we have the terrestrials, the Hyletics, and of course, if you really want to know who the Hyletics are, just like I got a lot of people, these guys who watch ESPN all day, you know, like all day. It's not about judging necessarily, but that's how you can observe these mentalities. They're just concerned with the animal prowess, and they really don't, you know, think too much beyond that. Um, they don't probe deeper questions in life. Then you have the psychics, the thinkers, like I said, the philosophers, scientists, even a lot of true priests who question life. What is this about? A lot of us who so-called wake up. What is life about? Beyond just the political stuff, just period. What is life about? This duality. People who try to break themselves free of the shackles of lies. And then you have again the spirituals. These realized people. They call them true people, true persons. The Buddha beings, the Christ beings, the whatever Krishna, all these characters that we are familiar with throughout spiritual history. Peace.